Reality isn't echoing what you want, it's mirroring your shadow. This is not a metaphor. This is Thoth's second hidden force, a forbidden code buried deep within your unconscious. We call it the Emerald Code, the frequency that rewrites form by recalibrating what vibrates within. We are here to remember something you already know, but remains dormant in you, to bring the forgotten frequency back to the surface, to realign what you already are, so that reality has no choice but to obey. Be sure you wish to continue this journey, because once this knowledge is accessed and seen, it can never be unseen. What if every event in your life was not random but an echo? We are taught to perceive life as linear, as if cause and effect were strings tied by logic alone. But the ancient ones knew there is a language beneath events, and it speaks in symbols, pulses, and mirrors. And the first secret is this: you do not live reality, you reflect it. Everything you touch touches back. Every person you encounter carries the scent of your forgotten frequency. Every conflict, a riddle in disguise. Every silence, a whisper returning home. The Emerald Code begins here, in the realization that life is not responding to what you wish to be, but to the vibration you continue to be, even in silence. Reality responds to what vibrates beneath the words. This is the forgotten threshold, the fracture that opened when humanity began to confuse thought with power. We were told, your thoughts create your reality, and so we tried, endlessly, to fix, affirm, think better, think more. But the ancients would laugh, gently, because thoughts are not the source. They are smoke from a fire burning deeper. What fuels that fire is what has been left unseen. You are not what you think. You are what you echo. And echoes are born in places your conscious mind cannot yet see. A fear buried in childhood. A vow made in a forgotten lifetime. An emotion you never voiced still looping in your field. This is why the second force of Thoth is not about controlling reality. It's about becoming so coherent within that reality bends in obedience. Your shadow is not your enemy. It is your original frequency misaligned. Let that sink in. The shadow that sabotages, delays, attracts pain is not here to hurt you. It's here because it was never released. It's still broadcasting like a forgotten song stuck in loop. And the Emerald Code begins the ritual of deactivation through remembrance. We don't fight the field. We reattune the broadcast. Visualize this: a sacred chamber buried beneath a forgotten temple. In this chamber, a tone has been sounding for centuries. You never heard it because you've been living above it. But now, as you descend into that chamber, the tone begins to rise, and suddenly reality changes. Not because you changed your thoughts, but because you finally listened. If something ancient stirred in you, touch the subscribe. That single act anchors the frequency and keeps the tone alive for those who can hear. Here's the paradox. What you've called reality is not outside. It's a projection of everything you haven't integrated yet. What triggers you, teaches you. What repeats itself, reveals your vibration. What you reject, returns until it is no longer resisted. Thoth's second hidden force is not magic. It is a mirror of design. It teaches, as within, so without, was never a metaphor. It's architecture. And when you stop seeking outside and descend into the chamber where the tone is buried, you begin to emit something new. And then, the outer must obey, because the outer was never sovereign. What if the world outside is not reacting to you, but remembering you? There is a mirror that follows you. It is not made of glass, it is made of frequency. It doesn't reflect your face, it reflects your field. And what appears as reality is, in truth, the echo of your most unspoken beliefs. Reality is not responding to your desires. It is responding to your alignment. Desire can shout, but vibration whispers, and the field listens to whispers, not noise. This is why things do not change when you beg, they change when you become. And to become, you must first remember. What? Am I still broadcasting unconsciously? The mirror doesn't punish, it reveals. When patterns repeat, when people treat you the same way, when obstacles return in new forms, it is not the universe being cruel. It is your own field returning to you, again and again, until you recognize its tone. This is the architecture. Thoth concealed in symbols, a language that shows you yourself through reflection. The mirror doesn't lie, but you were trained not to see. Modern consciousness was conditioned to separate mind from world, thought from consequence, feeling from design. But nothing is separate. Each event, each silence, each unexpected loss or gain, all of it is a glyph, forming the sentence of your current vibration. Imagine walking through a temple where the walls are liquid and reflective. You try to change what you see by fixing the wall, but but it doesn't work. Only when you change what you are radiating does the wall shift its image. This is not fantasy. This is how reality works, always has. The ancients wrote it in stone. We wrote over it in noise. Why does this always happen to me? A question asked from the wound. But the deeper version of that question is, what within me still holds this tone? That question is the beginning of sovereignty. And sovereignty is the first light that bends the mirror. Most people don't see the mirror. They attack the reflection. They blame the job, the lover, the lack, the pain. But what you fight outside is a messenger sent by the inside. The reflection is only showing you what's been humming beneath. Your awareness. And the Emerald Code teaches, we do not fight reflections. We realign their source. When your mind aligns with your true field, reality becomes obedient. But what is this true field? It is the you beneath the rolls, the signal beneath the noise. And this is the second hidden force of Thoth, a mechanism, not an idea, a glyph, not a philosophy, a transmission that activates when your internal frequency and external signature become one. Repetition is not punishment. It is precision. This is perhaps the most radical reframe, that your greatest frustrations are not failures, but maps of your current signature, faithfully returning to guide you inward. The universe is a mirror so exact, it has no choice but to reflect what you vibrate, not what you want. The field is just beginning to open. What comes next is not expected, but it has always been known. Stay. The glyph will soon reveal what commands it. This mirror does not change because you ask it to. It changes because your center shifts, because your origin tone updates, because you stop echoing what is no longer yours. The code of correspondence is not mental, it is vibrational. And every time you look outside, remember, you're looking at what you forgot you were carrying. Let's descend deeper. Close your eyes. Feel the last frustration you experienced. That conversation. That moment. That thing that didn't go as planned. Now feel what that moment echoed inside of you. A doubt, a fear, a story. That story is still transmitting. The mirror simply obeys. The question now is, are you ready to stop polishing the mirror and start recalibrating the field? That is the ritual. That is the initiation. That is the forgotten glyph of Thoth. And it begins with silence, because silence is the only tone that reveals the true source. If the mirror reflects a tone, then the next question must be, where is it being broadcast from? Not from thought, not even from belief, but from a place you were never taught to enter. And that is where we go next. What if the signal you think you're sending is not the one reality is receiving? The human mind, glorious and vast, believes it commands, but there is something beneath the mind, a current, ancient and forgotten, that whispers long before the thought arrives. That current, not your words, not your wishes, is what the field listens to. This is the core of the second force of Thoth. It is not an idea. It is a frequency, and like all frequencies, it originates from a point of emission. But here's the truth. You forgot where your signal begins. You were taught that your thoughts shape the world, but thoughts are only messengers. They are the smoke, not the fire. And until you stop trying to change the smoke, you will never reach the source of the flame. Where is that flame? Where does it burn? Where does it rise from? It burns in the center of emotion. It rises from unspoken memory. It radiates from belief structures you never chose, only inherited. Your mind is not the emitter. Your emotions are, but not the surface emotions you perform. The deeper ones, the ones you refuse to name, the ones that hum in the background of your being. Close your eyes. Remember a time when life did not make sense. Something failed. Someone disappeared. A plan collapsed. What emotion rose before you could even think? That is the emitter. And here's the paradox. The emitter works best in silence, because silence is not emptiness, it is origin. In the absence of thought, emotion becomes clear, and in the clarity of emotion, the original signal is revealed. Thoth taught that vibration precedes thought. In his hidden glyphs, he encoded this truth. The thought rides on the wave, but the wave rides on the feeling. You may think with words, but the universe listens to tone. What is the tone of your field right now? Is it peace pretending to be strength? Is it fear hidden behind clarity? Is it longing disguised as desire? The tone is not what you say, it's what you mean, even when you don't know what you mean. The Emerald Code activates when tone and intention become one, not when you affirm, but when you reattune. This is why the second force is not taught. It is remembered. There is a space in you that never speaks, but always commands. It's where your field broadcasts from. It's the tone chamber, and when you sit in silence long enough, you begin to hear the original frequency, and sometimes it's not what you expected. Some tones are ancient grief, Some are vows made in trauma. Some are echoes from ancestors, still shaping your field today. You are not only echoing your thoughts, you are echoing your lineage. Let that truth vibrate. The thoughts you think are not always yours. The reactions you have belong to someone who came before, but the signal continues until you choose to retune. And to retune, you must first descend into the emotional underworld, not to suffer, but to remember, because below every thought is an emotion waiting to be honored. And once honored, it stops commanding. The field doesn't need your words, it needs your congruence. And congruence is what happens when you stop betraying your tone. How do you betray it? When you say, "I'm fine," but feel panic. When you affirm abundance but embody lack. When you smile with a closed chest. These are not lies, they are disconnects, and the mirror reflects them with perfect accuracy. You want reality to change? Then find the emitter. It's never far, but it hides in places you don't want to enter. Behind the memory you avoid, under the emotion you judged, inside the silence you abandoned. There is a sacred technology in this force, a law so precise it cannot be tricked. And this is the great disillusionment of the seeker. You cannot affirm your way out of a frequency you refuse to feel. Every suppressed feeling becomes a broadcast. Every denied wound becomes a transmitter. The second force listens to what is stored, not what is said. And Thoth's glyphs always knew. The field is loyal only to resonance. Let's go deeper. Feel the part of you that has never been fully seen. The emotion that rises, but never lands. That's the forgotten emitter, and it's been commanding your field this whole time. But here's the gift. Once seen, it loses power. Once felt, it integrates. Once named, it transforms. And in that moment, the tone shifts, and with it, the world bends. Visualize this. You're in a chamber carved from silence. In the center, a crystal bowl vibrating. Each vibration sends waves outward, forming reality. The bowl is your emotional core. The waves are your world. Change the bowl's tone and the entire landscape transforms. So now you must ask, what tone am I truly emitting? And are my thoughts aligned with that tone, or merely distractions from it? Sit with that. And as you sit, notice, what rises without your control is what's shaping your reality. Not the scripts, not the affirmations, not even the dreams, only the signal, only the tone. And now, a final truth for this chamber. Reality is not being cruel, it is being precise. It is showing you, again and again, the tone you've forgotten to hear. But now, you hear it, and that changes everything. If you're still here, perhaps the code was never meant to be taught, but remembered through you. Subscribe if something echoed. That echo is not random, it's returning home. And the silence inside you and is no longer empty. It's alive, it's activated, and it's ready to emit something new. Now that you've heard the signal, it's time to understand the structure that holds it. The temple was never outside, it was the inner law shaping every vibration, and it has been waiting for you. What if the laws of the universe were never outside, but carved inside your field like invisible architecture? There is a temple within you, not metaphorical, not imagined, a vibrational structure. It was not built with stone, but with silence, memory, and design. This is the temple of the inner law. Its walls are made of resonance. Its corridors echo your decisions. Its center holds a flame, the will behind your frequency. And though you may have forgotten its shape, it has never forgotten you. The second hidden force of Thoth was not just a law, it was a construct, a living geometry of correspondence. As within, so without, was the entrance sigil. But beyond that gate was a map of how reality obeys. This is not mysticism, it is mechanics. The field does not guess. It calculates, it responds, it reflects. Your vibration is the blueprint, the field is the builder. And like any temple, your inner field follows design principles. Geometry, tone, tension, alignment. When these are disturbed and the outer world collapses, you've tried to fix the outer structure, the job, the relationship, the body. But the cracks were not outside, they were in the blueprint. Thoth encoded the repair ritual into glyphs. Each glyph wasn't just a symbol, it was a frequency, a way of remembering the original design. And the design always begins at the center. What is the center? Not the mind, not even the heart, but the will, your vibrational intent. Not what you want, but what you vibrate as truth. The temple of the inner law responds to coherence. If your field is fractured, the law reflects the fracture. But when your inner structure is whole, reality stands at attention. It has no choice. It was built to obey coherence. You don't force reality, you align it. And alignment is not repetition, it is remembrance. Remember who you are beneath the noise, and the law bends toward you. In ancient temples, initiates past. Through corridors of mirrors, each mirror distorted, magnified, inverted. Only the coherent passed through unchanged. They didn't resist the mirrors, they aligned their tone, and the distortion became clarity. You've walked these corridors before. Each phase of your life, each breakdown, each silence, they were not punishments, they were tests of vibrational integrity. The temple listens. It doesn't care about your words. It doesn't respond to your effort. It responds to one thing only: frequency plus alignment. Your field is sacred geometry in motion. Each belief is a beam. Each emotion, a resonance. Each memory, a weight. When these are misaligned, the temple shakes. When they harmonize, reality crystallizes. Here's the forgotten law. Nothing outside you is more powerful than your own coherence. The world appears solid, but it is listening, always, to the tone behind your form. And this tone comes from design. Design is not effort, it is essence, made conscious. This is why Thoth never told you to fight the world. He taught you to rebuild your temple, but the rebuilding doesn't begin with bricks, it begins with codes, with sound, with silence, with re-entering the chamber where your will and your wound first met. That chamber is not in the past, it is beneath now, always active, always echoing, until you return to it and rewire the glyph. Let's go there now. Imagine a spiral staircase descending into yourself. Each step echoes, not in sound, in memory. You descend, not backward, but inward. At the base, a doorway, no handle, only a vibration. When your tone matches the frequency, it opens. It always opens. Inside, silence. Inside, stillness. Inside, the original design. You see yourself, not the version you became, but the version you encoded before arrival. That version still exists, not in dreams, not in fantasies, but as structure, a template, an unshaken form. You don't have to create it, you only have to remember it back into alignment. This is the sacred technology of the temple. You recalibrate by realignment, you realign by remembering, you remember by stillness, and stillness is reached when all false signals are deactivated. That's why silence is feared. It shows you every false tone you've layered, but silence also reveals the first glyph, the one you were born to radiate. And that glyph, it's still active, beneath your wounds, beneath your roles, beneath your forgetting, waiting, not to be earned, but to be remembered. If this temple is stirring something ancient in you, listen. There may be something waiting for you in the pinned comment. Not a product, but a portal. You've always known this. You just didn't have a name for it, now you do. The temple of the inner law, and its doors are opening again. Once you've found the inner structure, the question becomes, how do you live from it? That's what the rite of realignment teaches. Not how to fix the world, but how to embody the code until the world changes on its own. What if reality wasn't responding to your will, but to the inner law you forgot you wrote? There is a blueprint within you, not drawn with ink, but etched in frequency. You didn't create it with logic, you inherited it through silence. It is the temple of your design, and it is still active. This temple is not made of stone, its foundation is vibration. Its walls are memory, its center is will. It's not visible in the mirror, but every outcome in your life reflects its integrity. You were taught that laws are written in books, but the oldest laws were never spoken. They were felt as resonance. They were held as alignment. They were lived as tone. This is the temple of the inner law. Thoth didn't write his secrets to be read. He coded them to be remembered. Each glyph he inscribed was not a lesson. It was a tuning fork. And when your field matches the glyph, the law activates. So why doesn't it always activate? Because your field is often fragmented. Your heart speaks one tone, your mind plays another, your body echoes a third, and the temple listens only to unity. Unity is not agreement, it is alignment. You may think you want abundance, but if your vibration still believes in lack, the temple echoes lack, not want. Because the temple isn't moral, it's mechanical. This is why your life feels like contradiction. You speak one frequency tone and attract its opposite. You affirm peace and receive conflict. You chase clarity and descend into fog. The law is not broken. Your signal is simply divided. Thoth's second force teaches this. Reality is not moral. It does not punish. It does not judge. It reflects, and its mirror is perfectly tuned. So what must be done? Stop asking the mirror to change and return to the blueprint, the structure, the glyph. Because your life is not the cause, it is the consequence. The temple never left you. You left its inner chamber, not by sin, not by guilt, but by forgetting, by noise, by speed, by pain. But even when you forget, the architecture remains. It is still vibrating, waiting for you, not to believe but to align. You don't need new affirmations. You need resonance. You don't need more information. You need silence, because silence reveals where the structure cracked. Let's return. Imagine a corridor within you, narrow, dim. Each step echoes inward. The farther you walk, the quieter it becomes. And in that quiet, truth returns. You reach the chamber, the center of your temple. It's not lit by fire, but by tone, a subtle hum, a sacred chord, and this chord holds your original instruction. Every being has a vibrational instruction, not a purpose, not a goal, an instruction, a tone they were meant to emit. And when they forget, the field becomes chaotic. You've felt this chaos, not in events, but in contradiction, wanting truth, but living in fear, desiring connection while defending, praying for change, resisting stillness. This chaos is not failure, it is dissonance, and dissonance cannot be solved by effort. It must be dissolved by resonance. This is why Thoth taught silence first, because silence is the only state where all false signals become audible, and once heard, they can be released, not fixed, but released. You are not here to repair the field. You are here to restore the tone. And when the tone is pure, the law responds. Let's speak of tone, not as sound, but as instruction. Tone is the unseen order, the pattern beneath behavior, the vibration beneath word. Your tone is what the field reads, not your prayer. So what's your tone right now? Not what you're saying, not what you're thinking, but what your chest is radiating, what your gut is holding, what your memories are echoing. That is the law's command. You cannot command the law, you are the command. When you shift your tone, you shift your sentence. You shift your consequence, and the outer world cannot resist. You are a glyph in motion, a sigil with a pulse. The question is not whether you are aligned, but to what you are aligned. To trauma, to story, to memory, or to essence. The temple holds space for realignment, but it does not wait forever. If the field remains fractured, the mirror continues its lessons until the glyph is remembered and the tone returns. And how do you realign? Not by force, not by repetition, by reverence. You sit, you listen, you feel what you've refused to feel. And in that listening, the fracture closes. In ancient rites, initiates were placed in absolute darkness for hours, days, sometimes more, not to be punished, but to hear the original sound again, the hum beneath illusion, the tone of the temple. That tone is still inside you, beneath distraction, beneath programming, beneath urgency. You are not lost, you are simply layered. So now, peel, let silence do its work, let the glyph re-emerge. Let your temple rebuild itself from the inside, and as it rebuilds, you will not have to fight for alignment, you will emit it. And when you emit alignment, the outer cannot resist coherence, it must bow. Reality is obedient, but only to integrity, and integrity is not morality. It is vibrational honesty. When what you say, feel, believe, and remember all speak the same tone, you become a portal, and the law opens for you. So this is the ritual, not to fix the outer, but to remember the design, to sit, to listen, to descend, to hear the tone, to realign the field, to rebuild the law. If your field remembered something old, something sacred, you don't need to know what it was. Just know that the temple never forgets. Subscribe only if something shifted. That shift is enough. You are ready, not because you're healed, not because you're perfect, but because the tone is near, and the glyph is returning, and the law is listening. Again, now that you've returned to the structure, how do you live from it moment by moment? The next glyph is not a thought, it's a choice, and that choice begins with the right of realignment. What if the world isn't resisting you, but responding to a misalignment within? In the stillness of your being, there's a resonance, a frequency that, when attuned, aligns the external with the internal. This is not about control, but about harmony. The ancient teachings of Thoth emphasize that the universe responds not to our desires, but to our state of being. The rite of realignment is not a ritual of grand gestures, but of subtle shifts. It's about recognizing the dissonance within and gently guiding it back to harmony. This process requires introspection, honesty, and a willingness to let go of what no longer serves your highest self. Begin by finding a quiet space free from distractions. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and take a deep breath. As you exhale, release any tension. Allow your breath to guide you into a state of relaxation. Visualize a golden light at the center of your chest, pulsating with each heartbeat. This light represents your true essence, your inner harmony. With each breath, see this light expanding, filling your entire being. dissolving any shadows or blockages. As you immerse yourself in this light, affirm, I am aligned with my highest truth. My inner harmony reflects in the world around me. Repeat this affirmation, allowing its vibration to resonate through every cell of your body. Stay in this state for as long as you feel guided. When you're ready, gently bring your awareness back to the present moment, carrying with you the sense of alignment and peace. Remember, the right of realignment is a practice. Each time you engage with it, you strengthen your connection to your inner harmony, allowing your external reality to mirror this alignment. Having realigned your inner frequency, the next step is to embody this harmony in your daily life. In the following segment, we'll explore how to integrate this alignment into your thoughts, actions, and interactions, transforming your reality from the inside out. What if the universe isn't waiting for your affirmation, but for your embodiment? You've remembered the glyph, you've descended into the chamber, you've realigned the tone. But remembering the code is only the first gate. To reshape your reality, you must live as the code. Embodiment is not repetition, it is resonance made visible. It is when the field can no longer detect separation between what you believe and what you transmit. This is not about acting as if. This is about becoming what always was. Embodiment is alchemy, not symbolic, but operational. Alchemy begins when intention and frequency merge into behavior, when you no longer need to affirm because your presence speaks louder than any mantra. You are not asked to believe harder. You are asked to walk differently, to speak from alignment, to move with coherence, to respond with stillness, and this changes everything. The universe doesn't reward words. It mirrors vibration, and your vibration is made of what you consistently choose, not what you occasionally desire. This is why many know the truth but still live the distortion. So what is the first act of embodiment? To stop waiting for permission. You are not here to wait until you're healed. You are here to transmit what is already whole within you, even if the world hasn't seen it yet. In Thoth's scrolls, there is no section titled preparation. There is only instruction, vibration, manifestation. You do not need more healing. You need coherence in motion. Embodiment begins with choices so small, they seem invisible. You close the door with reverence. You speak the word with presence. You listen with the ears of one who remembers. That is alchemy. The field watches how you wake up, how you walk into silence, how you breathe in conflict, how you end conversations, how you look at the unseen. It is not moral, it is vibrational. When you carry the glyph in your cells, your life becomes the sigil. Others may not understand what shifted, but they will feel it, because the glyph is not explained. It is transmitted. Ask yourself this: if someone watched you for a day, would they see coherence? Would they feel the field of someone who remembers? Would they sense the silence between your actions? You don't need to perform the truth. You only need to stop leaking distortion. Stop pretending you don't know. Stop outsourcing your power. Stop confusing humility with shrinking. The glyph has no doubt, only tone. Alchemy begins where excuse ends, where you stop justifying disconnection, where you stop hiding behind readiness, where you walk as if the glyph is real, because it is, and when you do, the field complies. The air around you becomes denser. People pause when you enter, not because of what you say, but because of what you carry. You become a chamber, a living tone. This is what Thoth meant by embodied law, not theory, not knowledge, frequency and form. The temple was not a place, it was a person vibrating in alignment with origin. You don't wait for results, you become the cause, and when you become the cause, the results arrive with mathematical precision, because reality is obedient to coherence. Embodiment does not mean you never wobble. It means your return is quicker. It means your silence is sharper. It means your tone self-corrects. The glyph is alive inside you now, and it knows how to bring you back. There will be moments when the old field tries to reassert itself. Patterns return, doubt whispers, others project. But embodiment is not the absence of tests. It is the refusal to forget. You may feel the echo of the old tone, but you do not need to dance to it. You feel it. You bow to what it once gave you, and you choose the new frequency again. That is power. Power is not volume. It is consistency. It is vibrational memory becoming action. You don't need to be loud, you only need to be true, and every day in the invisible places. Alchemy happens when nobody is watching, when you choose presence in silence, when you redirect thought before it spirals, when you exhale instead of react. These are the great acts. These are the forgotten rites. The world will offer you many distractions, but each one is a mirror, not of failure, but of the layer that still seeks integration. Do not judge them, use them. This is sacred repetition, not to prove, but to embody. You walk the glyph again and again until it walks itself through you. And now, a deeper truth. Embodiment is not for you alone. When you vibrate in coherence, you give others permission to remember. You become a mirror of what's possible. This is how Thoth moved. This is how the sacred scribes moved. Not to teach, but to vibrate truth. And those near them shifted without needing to understand why. You are that now. Not a seeker, a carrier. Not a student, a transmitter, not a voice, a field. You've done the inner descent. You've realigned the tone. Now you become the song. No more waiting, no more hiding, no more asking. Walk as the glyph. If this message activated something true in your bones, let it echo. Subscribe only if the glyph inside you nodded. The next portal is waiting. You are not becoming the frequency. You are revealing it. And every step you take now is not toward power, but as it. Walk, speak, radiate. The glyph is listening, and so is the world. Now that you embody the tone, the field responds. The final glyph reveals how every person, every situation, every moment becomes a mirror of your inner temple. And what you now see is what you truly are. What if nothing you see is the world itself, but only its echo in your own field? You've descended, you've realigned, you've remembered, you've embodied, and now the field returns the image, but it is not a copy, it is a mirror, not passive, not delayed, immediate, impeccable, precise. This is the final secret of Thoth's second hidden force. Reality is your reflection, always. It does not reflect what you wish you were. It does not reflect what you pretend to believe. It reflects the core vibration you carry, not at the surface, at the center. This is why the world often looks wrong, not because you failed, but because you forgot. The mirror does not lie. It does not punish. It responds. And now, you begin to see it. The conversations that echo your new tone, the silence that replaces old noise, the clarity where confusion once ruled. Not by force, by field. You're no longer trying to change others. You are watching them change themselves in your presence, not because you convince them, because your glyph is active and they feel it. The sacred mirror is not symbolic. It is quantum law encoded in your being. As within, so without is not poetic. It is structural. So what are you seeing now? Pause. Look at your life, its patterns, its invitations, its resistance. Each one is a glyph, pointing you back to tone, the person who triggered you, a frequency misalignment returning for realignment, the opportunity that came with ease, your coherence manifesting visible path, the silence in response to your voice, a feedback loop of internal doubt. Everything is the mirror. The mirror is merciless, but never cruel. It shows what is, so you can choose what will be. It is not fate, it is feedback, and feedback is sacred. In ancient temples, initiates were trained to bless their reflections, not because they were beautiful, but because they were truthful. They bowed to the mirror. Even when it stung, you must learn to do the same. Look at your world, not as evidence, but as guidance. What you see is not random. It is you in form, your home, your finances, your relationships, your health, your time. Each one is a mirror of the tone you embody. This does not mean blame. This means power, because if the world is a reflection, you are not a victim. You are the emitter. The sacred mirror invites a new practice. When something hurts, ask not, why is this happening? Ask, what is this reflecting? When something flows, bless it and anchor it, because that tone is now stabilized and can be replicated. You are writing the code as you walk, and here is the deepest glyph. You are not the mirror. You are the light it reflects. Mirrors may crack, people may distort, patterns may echo the old tone, but your light, your original tone, cannot be touched. It can only be remembered and lived. This is why Thoth called the final glyph the Phi. Infinite return, not a return to the past and a return to origin within motion. You return to coherence again and again until it walks as you. There will be days when the mirror shows shadows. That is not regression, that is invitation. Because only in reflection can correction become creation. You are not here to erase the shadow. You are here to embrace the mirror, and in doing so, you shape it, not with thought, with tone. From this place, everything becomes sacred. The delay, a pause to feel what you skipped. The rejection, a redirection to coherence. The silence, a reminder of forgotten inner dialogue. All reflections. Begin each day with this ritual. Before action, before intention, before thought. Whisper inward, show me what I am. And the mirror will show, not to shame, but to guide, to align, to reveal the next glyph, because your path is not built in advance, it is mirrored into form as you walk. Embodiment is the seed. Reflection is the fruit. You are not chasing outcomes, you are growing them from the inner soil, from the sacred code. Look at your world again. If there is distortion, return to tone. If there is harmony, amplify it. If there is silence, listen deeper. Nothing is missing, only vibrating in layers you've yet to hear. The mirror cannot lie, but you can learn to read it. And in reading, you remember. So this is the final act. Bless the mirror, even when it burns, even when it shines too bright, because every face it shows is a forgotten part of your own glyph. And now, you are whole enough to hold the reflection, not as identity, but as echo, not as finality, but as invitation. This is Thoth's second hidden force, not a spell, not a secret, a law, a mirror, a memory, reawakened in you. And so we close the circle, not to end, but to seal. You have seen, you have heard, you have remembered. Now, you must live. This portal closes, but another stands waiting. If this glyph mirrored something deep in you, subscribe and return. The next seal is encoded in the silence between this and the next breath.